Okay, I'm going to show you a series of announcements I designed in the 1980s. Starting with this trifold announcement. You would get this in the mail. This is for Twin Palms Gallery. That was at the foot of Brannan Street and is long gone. The piece pictured here, especially in reverse, is a piece called Propensity is the Mother of Invention. Propensity was installed horizontally at Twin Palms, kind of like this image, but in 1984 it was installed vertically at Southern Exposure. This is an image from the SOEX, but it's on its side, so it's sort of like an image of both pieces, the horizontal and the vertical version. So here's an announcement I did for that show at SOEX. See the announcement here. This is the framework. These are the parts you would cut out. Here's the instructions. And by following the directions, you would make a little working machine. And this is the mock-up for that machine. See this little tab here. You work the tab. Makes these two little things pop up alternately, and they say installation, sculpture, installation, sculpture, installation, sculpture. The back is kind of nifty too. The front, the card, and there's the back of this little machine. Also in 1984 was a show at the Lawson Gallery, and this is the announcement that you would cut up from that show. Here's the announcement. This is the frame that you would mount the parts in. Here are the parts you would cut out following the directions that are scattered all over the page. And you would cut the parts out, put them in the frame, and you would have a little working machine. I have a mock-up for this too. So this is a mock-up of the announcement for the verb intransitive, the show I did at the Lawson Gallery. And it is actually a small paper version of the larger wood piece that you could that was in the show itself. So there's a tab here. It's a big grease stain in the middle. There's a tab here, and when you work this tab, you can see that it operates this lever. And that would actually push something off the track here. Let's see if we can get that to work. Let's pull it back to the starting point. Put this drum on the track. And work the lever. Whoa, it worked, more or less. But it is the verb intransitive, and it's a game really that has no direct object. And here's a slide of the piece that the announcement was based on. And the piece itself was inspired by a routine by Lenny Bruce. The verb intransitive for Lenny Bruce was the verb to come, of course. The last interactive announcement I did was in 1987 for the Bluxo Gallery. And you would get something like this in the mail. Also a trifold. Here are the directions. Here's the back side of one of the parts. You flip it over and you have the entire mechanism, but not assembled yet. Here's the support frame. These are parts you'll use to cut out and put in there. So here are all the parts all cut out of the piece. The full title of the piece was A Dangling Participle, a Catastrophe of Self-Organization. I actually have a version that I recently assembled again from these parts. It was harder than I thought it would be. But here is the assembled version. The tricky part of a dangling participle is the subject. And if you grab this little handle here, let's see, maybe I'll grab it with this hand, and you line up the arrow there to the lowermost arrow, you will get the subject popping up down here in red. Let me pop that up for you. Here it goes, popped up. And the subject is pointing to a spot on the gallery floor. This is a floor plan of the Bluxo Gallery here. And it's pointing to a spot on the gallery floor where there was a loose floorboard, and stomping on that worked an escapement. The escape mechanism would gradually reach a point where it would dump sand on the floor of the gallery. This is the back side of the dangling participle with the postal markings, return to sender, etc., and the instructions. And the front. And this is what you can make from the announcement you would get in the mail.